Ladies and gentlemen, friends from APO member countries and all around the world, greetings from the Asian Productivity Organization in Tokyo, Japan. I'm Joshua Lau from the Services Division. The APO is the leading intergovernmental organization tasked to promote productivity, foster innovation, and enhance economic competitiveness across our 21 member countries in the Asia Pacific, with the Secretariat based in Tokyo, Japan. In today's APO talk, we will be looking at new tourism models in the wake of the new normal. Tourism makes up about 10% of the global GDP in 2019, and it is worth around USD $9 trillion. However, the COVID-19 pandemic has upended the travel and tourism industry. So it has also changed the way business is conducted and the expectations of visitors and tourists. Today, we will be inviting two experts in this area. One is the Digital Tourism Director, Zamil Zuki of Think and Act Tourism Academy, Malaysia, and the other one is Mr. Gumbelik, the co-founder of Shaman Tour LLC, Mongolia, as well as the Program Manager of Urbis Venture Limited, Mongolia. They will share strategies to reset the tourism sector to the new normal, including how to reopen and how to manage related businesses in ways that are safe, attractive, and economically viable. So good afternoon, Mr. Zamil, and good afternoon, Mr. Gumbelik. How are you doing? Would you like to say hi to our viewers out there?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for inviting. Thank you for inviting Joshua, APO. I would like to try this to our fellow friends. Kyo wa gosanka itadaki arigato gozaimasu. I hope I pronounce it perfectly.
Very good. Domo arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you so much, Mr. Zamil. Mr. Gumbelik, would you like to say hi to our viewers out there?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you, Mr. Joshua Lau, for inviting me to Asian Productivity Talk. And hi, Zamil. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Thank you so much, everyone. So, without further ado, I would like to just give a short presentation on, and by way of introduction, of the two experts. So, one is Mr. Muzamil bin Mazuki, or we call him Mr. Zamil. He's one of the tourism industry experts in digital tourism of the Tourism Productivity Nexus of the Malaysian Productivity Corporation. And he's also a social engineering expert, as well as a competitive intelligence expert. And it is our honor today to invite Mr. Zamil to be here with us to talk about certain strategies in the new normal in order to recope and revitalize our tourism industry. I also have with me Mr. Gumbelik Bayaskalan. Mr. Gumbelik Bayaskalan is a co-founder of Shaman Tour LLC, as well as the program manager at Urbis Ventures Private Limited. Mr. Gumbelik is a leading business relations and tourism expert with over 10 years of professional experience in private and public sectors. He's a passionate environmentalist working on protecting endangered species, culture, and ethnic groups in Mongolia. As a co-founder of Shaman Tours in Ulaanbaatar, his team builds pop-up tourist camps in the Gobi Desert, Western and Northern Mongolia to increase the income of local nomads and thereby promoting sustainable tourism. So very interesting business model. And without further ado, I now pass the floor first to Mr. Zamil and then followed by Mr. Gumbelik. And then we will be following up with a live Q&A session, about 15 minutes or so. And the floor is now open to both gentlemen. I would like to have the first presentation by Mr. Zamil. I will share the presentation slides.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Joshua. Mr. Gumbelik, my co-speaker. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Muzamil Mazuki from Malaysia. I'm a game changer and mover in tourism industry. I work under the Tourism Productivity Nexus under the purview of Malaysia Productivity Corporation. Do you know that how we manage to game change to boost tourism during COVID-19? So today, I'm going to share with you the 4 items that is applicable during these new normals. Next. Okay, first we need to understand the effect of COVID-19, of which I say the fear zone. Second, we need to know what are the next step of the learning zone. It's time to unlearn and relearn. The third is actually moving forward with the new norms, or shall I say growth zone. The two initiatives that I will explain later is actually on the tourism virtual advisory clinic. Yes, you heard it right. It's a clinic. The second one is a virtual tourism show. Next, please. The year 2020 is not a good year for Malaysia, and I think is also the same to your respective countries and others as well. Next, this is where during the Malaysia lockdown starting from 18 March, the movement control order, we feel that this is going to will be less than 6 months or maybe a very short period of time, but it added up and it drags until the year end. So we can't just wait. We have to move. Next. Okay, the fear zone that I already explained, there are three zones: the fear zone, the learning zone, and the growth zone. The fear zone is time to panic. This is what happened to me during the first day of the announcement for the lockdown, where I was actually doing the panic buying. I bought from the small trolley to the bigger trolley to another trolley of food, not knowing what will happen next, right? And for some who actually is running a business, they are actually lost a lot of income due to the cancellation of the bookings, hotels, the groups, and so on and so forth. And after a while, they realized that they couldn't afford for the rental, the salaries and wage. These are all the fear zone. Moving towards the learning zone, after 1 week, you'll be at home, you'll be during the lockdown, you realize that you start to give up the things that you can't control. You need to find a new skill. You need to acquire a new skill. You need to know what are your really talents. This is where we learn into how to do what they call this online meeting. We do online meeting instead of physical meeting. We learn to do online orders. We sell our product by online. These are the things that we adopt to for a change that we learn. Some is starting from zero, and they actually manage to complete the learning process. The next is actually the growth zone. The growth zone is actually the manner when you learn the new skill that you acquire. You realize that this is the time to move on. This is how I can do the new business model. You realize that we can still survive. We can just go for next zone. Okay, next. Right. But above all this, what we are actually really concerned is actually next. What we're really concerned is actually the crisis management. This is where you need to really understand that we have gone through many pandemics before. We have a lot of things actually happen, but we fail to manage our crisis. This is actually a very concern during the growth. So we need to really understand the next. Right. This is where you need to know the danger and opportunity during the COVID-19. You know that that with this danger and crisis, there lies an opportunity. So we need to capitalize on that opportunity. We must embrace a new mindset, a new method, and a new way of working. Next. Okay, in Malaysia, this is actually the scenario that we have 2 to 3 months, the lockdown, and then we come into the restricted movement order. This is actually where the opportunity lies. This is where you learn to start the new thing before you're returning and to recover your new business model, or your same business but a new business model. Next. Okay, due to the returning before they actually recover into the business, this is the moment where we have really advised the players, the owners, to actually to have a new SOP, standard operating procedure. You must have a new value. You must practice a good hygiene. You must have social distancing program. You must show that next. You must show that what your establishment is safe. If you are in a business, you need travel business. You need to show that these are things have been applied. You have sanitization. You have a travel hygiene team of business. In hotel business, you have hospitality reset. Next, and then in restaurant too. And for those who are actually running an events, outdoor events, they have next they have to, they have to show that yes, they are organizing a social distancing program where you can only be with your family, and there's a sanitization on your all the equipment just to be safe, so that the customer, your potential customer, realize that we are actually in the safe zone. Okay, next. Okay, this is what happened in China, that we try to I'm not saying that this is bad. This is something that we take this as case study. Next, there's a great crowd of China when they reopen the attraction places. These are the big numbers. They're actually going to flock the place. So this is Malaysia. We try to avoid this. We tell the players that to be really cautious. Don't to have a social distancing. Limit your customer. No over touristed. With the loading capacity, everyone. Okay, next. In Malaysia, we are very lucky because under the Malaysia Productive Declaration and Tourism Productive Nexus, they are very serious, and even they are actually take a step forward by organizing a virtual summit. Virtual summit is actually online virtual summit with all the players, and during the summit, we did something strategy. We actually formed a new strategy to mitigate the COVID-19 disruption. Right, so there are 5R. We call it 5R in the reset tourism, of which the first one is reinvent a new product, because a new normal, we need a new product. Research target market, new research target market. As you can see on the screen, we need to remodel marketing and promotion, that a new strategy that actually fits the niche market. And what we're doing now, we actually write on the technology into the digitalization, the online reach, the technological tools. The last but not the least, the recalibrate the industry. And this is very vital for the new norms and the new tourism. Next. Okay, this is the first initiative that been launched by the TP Tourism Productivity Nexus. This is what I say. This is where we go back to the players to actually to persuade them, to consult them, to make them say that the government is actually listening to you. So we created this advisory clinic. We have about 12 advisors, so-called like a doctor. We advise them on what are the things that can be done. The government is giving a lot of incentive. The government is giving a microcredit loan, special relief fund, and so on and so forth. But some of the players are not really aware of this, how to apply it, why they fail. These are the financial assistance and financial management that we're providing them. There are also business operations, telling them that we need a new business model. You're on an old model, so we need to have a new model. That is the advice that we give them. And last but not least, the industry structure. This is where we come together, we do the collaboration on how we can together help with the value change, the customer relations, the challenges and the barriers. Right? Next. So during that session, the debate session, some of them actually came to me and cried. But after 1 hour, I can see the smiling on their face, because they know where is the direction they're heading. Okay, the next one is actually the tourism. We call this Malaysia Virtual Experience, or you can say a virtual experience show, virtual show. This is another initiative that the government sponsored, of which those who actually lost their job, like a tour guide, travel agent, we convert their physical experience, the tour, everything into an online. I know it's a bit challenge, but it's very interesting that knowing that when you convert this into an experience, you're actually conducting a virtual show, and how you earn? Actually, you earn from the ticket that we sell through online. Next. Okay, these are some examples that we managed to convert. We managed to convert about almost 600 by now. There's a lot of things. You can see how to do fast cooking, how to do the meteorite impact in Lenggong, one of the state that is very interesting. Some of these are on the gastronomy experience. We have spiritual, we have paranormals, you name it, we got it. And just for 30 ringgit, it's about $10, less than $10, you can get this online experience as a form of appetizer before you really go for the real tour. Next. Okay. This is some of the examples that we did. We have a storytelling. We have a mini concert on the Engage. This guy, he's actually our legend during the 70s and 80s. But during the COVID, he lost his income. He has nothing to do. We approached him and said, let's do this format into the mini concert. And he agreed. And he started from zero until he became a hero. And guess what? During his first show, he earned 1,100 ringgit Malaysia for 1 hour show engagement. Right. Another one is the humanity-based tourism. Up there, you can see the poster. This actually give a new definition of a crowdfunding. This is where those who actually wanted to donate, they actually paid for the ticket. They just buy 10 tickets, 20 tickets, and the best thing is that they can watch how the money is being spent, how the money actually being spent, to whom, what they done, what is the the initiative. Next. Okay, this is something also that they use a GoPro to actually follow him to the river, catch some lokan, and then show it how to eat. And it's very interesting. And at the end of the show, he sold most of the package. Buy now, use later. Next. Okay, this is what I told about the island, the humanity-based tourism. After the 3 days listed, it's actually sold out. And then I asked him to do another show. It's also sold out. So every time we do a new show, it's been sold out. And I was told that accumulatively for this whole period of COVID, they actually collected the fund of 100,000 Malaysia to be given out to be in the form of food, etc. Next. Okay, this is for those who are afraid of heights. This is something that you can actually experience. This is something that you can try it first. You can try it first, and then you know that how to enjoy it, how safe it is, and then before you're going for the actual trip, and you get a special further discount, maybe 20% or 30% for the real thing, for the real flight. All right, next. So fun, right? It's really fun. I don't know whether I can do that or not. Okay, I want to share. This is my mentee. Her name is Angie. She's actually a daughter of a fisherman back in one of the district in Selangor. At first, she was a bit skeptical that whether this might work or what. She's a local host, but the content that she shares actually is about the village, her village, and the type of boat for the fishermen, the taboos, the do's and don'ts for the fishermen, and then what type of fishes that they caught with the specific boat. And believe me or not, after the 1 hour show, she collected 1,990 ringgit for 1 hour. And what's the capital? Nothing. Just sharing, just talking, just to be excited, just to express how nice her village was. So 1,990 ringgit in just 1 hour. Next. Okay, this is some of the we have some of the testimonies that actually they're really happy with our program, and some of them receive what you call this special certificate for the online mentoring. It's a 10 hours online mentoring. It's free of charge. It's actually by the government, sponsored by the government, to help all the players that is affected. And with this slide, ladies and gentlemen, I would like when the entire world worried about the impact of COVID-19 on tourism industry, our tourism productivity nexus has reset tourist product into online experience with great success, I must say. And if you all need our expertise, we are ever ready to collaborate and extend our consultation service. Just contact with APO Secretariat and we can discuss further. With that, thank you very much, Joshua. I'll pass back to you. I hope I'm still in that 15-minute range of presentation.
Definitely. 完璧です。どうもありがとうございました。terima kasih. Zamil, really good presentation. So now for the next presentation, I would like to get Mr. Gumbilik to share about his experience. Let me draw out his slides, and Mr. Gumbilik, the floor is yours to share with us more about the experience in Mongolia. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Joshua. So thank you, Zamil. That was a really nice presentation. Thank you. So hello, I'm Gumbilik Payaskalan. Today I will share with you the insights on new normal, new tourism in Mongolia. Next, so before we begin, let me give you a brief introduction about my company. So we're called Shaman Tour. We've been operating as an inbound tour operator since 2009. And we are experienced in customized all-inclusive tours, building pop-up camps and providing glamping services anywhere in Mongolia. And also we do have our own house master chef who creates the menu for our tours, as well as joins us in some of our luxury tours. So we offer adventure and luxury travel, special interest tours, wild animal photography, ethnic and tribal tours, and research expeditions as well. So I'm happy to share that we are a responsible company, as 25% of our net proceeds go to protecting critically endangered species in Mongolia, including snow leopards and Argali sheep. Next. So, okay, now let's move on to a brief overview of the tourism industry of Mongolia. Next. In the last couple of years, we have received about 500,000 international tourists annually. The capacity of Mongolian tourism can absorb about 1.2 million tourists per year, according to the Ministry of Environment and Tourism. And the tourism industry contributes about 4 to 5% of our GDP. There are more than 80,000 workforce in the industry, so which they might be facing possible unemployment in the upcoming years if the tourism doesn't restart. So next. So our government views the tourism industry as one of the key economic pillars, and it has set forth a plan to attract at least 2 million tourists by 2030, which is the fourfold number of tourist arrivals in Mongolia per year. This shows how much emphasis we put on the tourism industry going forward. Next. So how are we sort of coping with the COVID-19 pandemic and preparing for the future is what I'm going to cover in the next few slides. So what's going on in Mongolian tourism industry during the pandemic? Luckily, Mongolia is one of the least affected countries in the world. Actually, we are one of the 3 countries that doesn't have any community transmission up to date. So we have about 350 cases. All cases are imported, and we don't have any local transmissions, as I mentioned before, and 0 deaths recorded to time. Next. So when you look at the economy and the industries hit by the pandemic, these are some of the most hit industries by the pandemic. So firstly, same as in any other countries, the aviation industry. So since we closed all the borders last March 2020, there was no international flights until the government decides to send charter flights to certain countries to repatriate its citizens that stuck abroad. The border remained closed until now. And recently, our PM has announced that the border will remain closed until July 2021. So the government has facilitated about 2 to 15 international flights per month till now, and the domestic flights continue to fly across the country, which is very convenient. So, okay, with respect to the tourism industry, with the border shut down, there is no international visitors for this year, and because of that, the demand of services and goods in the industry has reduced. So we put a downward pressure on the service rates in the industry, and we also see that the sales of tourism goods and handicrafts, gifts, and souvenirs made by the locals and low-income families have declined significantly. The hospitality industry's service rate has also declined over 50% due to the lack of international visitors. So all this combined together is, of course, imposing a negative impact on the economy, rising level of unemployment, as well as reduced inflow of foreign currencies like USD and Chinese RMB. Overall, the economy in Mongolia is shrinking. Next slide. So now let's move on to share with you about how we are reinventing our tourism industry during the COVID-19 period. And here I'd like to highlight some of the key market opportunities that we have rediscovered during the pandemic. Next. So we're seeing an increasing number of local tour operators and industry players are adjusting their services to cater for domestic travelers, as the domestic travelers became the new normal. So because the number of domestic travelers has been doubled compared to last year. And with that, we're rediscovering new destinations and new market opportunities with them. So however, we are facing some difficulties and challenges with the locals. For example, the local travelers lack knowledge of responsible and ecotourism. And because of that, some national parks and popular tourist destinations has been too overcrowded and polluted by the travelers. So we should have new travel standards, safety measurements, and most importantly, educate our next generation of travelers and workers in the industry and on how to sustain and protect the natural ecosystem and cultural heritage. And also, we should focus more on building new ventures and services using cutting-edge new technologies and digital solutions to boost the sales of the industry. online digital media contents, marketing and shopping, like e-commerce related to tourism, of course, is one of the main solutions in the next few years. Next slide. So let me give you an example. So iHotel, we have a company name, it's a startup named iHotel. So iHotel is one of the first and the largest tech solution provider in tourism and hospitality industry in Mongolia. iHotel provides an online service similar to Booking, Expedia, and Agora.com. But their target customers are the offline hotels and tourist camps in Mongolia, as 70% of hotels and camps are offline in Mongolia. So surprisingly, this year, the customers was increased by 78% compared to last year. And it was made by 100% local and domestic tourists. So this shows that we shouldn't dismiss the abundant opportunities that is present in the local market. So next, after iHotel, I would like to mention that there is an ArtCare. ArtCare is a YouTube channel and a digital content creator. They produce variety of documentaries on Mongolian unique recipes, ethnic and modern culture, and one-of-a-kind travel, and real stories on real people. Here, as you can see, they have about more than 250,000 subscribers, which they are already monetizing on, and also each of the videos have about like 1 million views and a lot of requests to visit Mongolia through ArtCare tours. So the interesting thing about this like digital content creation for tourism industry is that it's not only to attract visitors, but at the same time, a lot of requests for merchandise and local products by foreign customers. So this is something also we're working on in the business development area as well. So next slide. So now let me move on to discuss a bit about how we are preparing for the post-COVID-19 period. Next. So the key preparation needed post-COVID-19 is, of course, how do we provide better infrastructure and better services that is accessible all year around? So basically, the Mongolian tourism is like only about 4 to 5 months. It starts in May and ends in like late September. But during this time, we have to make it like better services with accessible all year round. And this is purely based on our experience with the domestic travelers. So what I mean by better infrastructure and better services is that I have mentioned earlier that we have discovered new destinations that helps the new destinations. When all of the mass like traveling to the new destinations, it will help the common destinations to regenerate on its own. So how do we connect? How do we connect the new destinations with the main roads? So how do we provide accessibility to the new destinations? It will require, of course, like road building, road maintenance, as well as digital connectivity like broadband and telecommunication access on the new areas. So in one hand, you could see the COVID-19 as an opportunity, and we are taking this opportunity and exploring on how we provide more eco and environmentally friendly way of tourism, including like building of eco-friendly camps and camping areas. So we're also focusing on how we put more stopover places along the main tourist roads, all in one stopover with gas stations, diners, supermarkets, services, and most importantly, modern sanitary. Like modern sanitation and flush toilet is a major challenge when you're traveling in Mongolia. So we must take this opportunity to improve the hygiene and sanitation practices in all public and tourist destinations throughout Mongolia. So lastly, after COVID-19, when the tourism restarts globally, one of the most important part is how do we monitor the movements of the visitors and tourists across the country in real time. It will require like high-tech and digital solutions. So now how do we make them feel safe when we're traveling in Mongolia? So like, for example, is Mongolia a safe country? So safe meaning is a COVID-free country. So, or Mongolia is getting to Mongolia is safe. What is the safety measures and hygiene sanitation protocols when traveling in Mongolia? So these are the main questions after the tourism resets, and we need to have an answer for these questions and make solutions for them for the international travelers. So good news on that. So like the good news is that when we restart the tourism, the new Ulaanbaatar International Airport will begin its operation, and we will have more direct flights in and out of our country in the region. Next. So from our experience this year, we also recognize that there is an ability that we can receive tourists all year round only if we provide this sort of critical infrastructure needed to enable this. So our investments and efforts are going to introduce new travel options, especially for domestic markets, so that this will also sort of harness new market opportunities. So as already in the new normal, we should organize more and more online events and exhibitions and conferences via online, like Zoom or this kind of online media platforms. So yeah, that's about it. So next, yeah, thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask here or ask by an email. So we can hear gumbelik@gmail.com. And also I'd like to thank to Mr. Bayer Balgantian for the photo credits, and he's a well-known photographer in Mongolia. So thank you, Joshua.
Thank you
Zamir.
so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Gumbelik. Yeah, even though I haven't been to Mongolia, just by looking at your PowerPoint presentation and the gorgeous pictures, all the picturesque images, really makes me want to go to Mongolia. Thank you so much, Mr. Gumbelik. Yeah. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, we actually know that COVID-19 pandemic has upended hospitality and tourism industries. The good news was, yesterday, Pfizer and BioNTech have just announced that their first phase for the phase 3 efficacy trials have actually yielded a 90% efficacy. And this is something that is extremely good news. And let's hope that Pfizer, BioNTech, and other vaccine manufacturers can continue this wonderful journey towards producing an effective vaccine for us. But in the meantime, the International Air Transport Association predicts that global passenger traffic will not return back to pre-COVID-19 levels until 2024. On top of that, McKinsey research also suggests that the hospitality industry will only recover to pre-COVID-19 levels of room occupancy by 2023 or even later. So when we look at all this, it is something that is quite jarring and quite worrying. So how can we continue to survive in this new normal and in this new tourism landscape? So may I right now go over to the live Q&A questions, and let's come up with the first question from one of our readers and viewers who have actually posed their questions. So the first question is, what is your advice to member countries when it comes to improving productivity and innovation for the tourism industry? So this question is open up to both experts, Mr. Gumbelik and Mr. Zamil. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So the COVID-19 is likely to accelerate the shift to digital as travelers look for flexibility, booking, and virtual experiences. So many tourism SMEs and tour operators have not been fully able to integrate the new digital capabilities in the way that the larger businesses or like government-backed corporates have launched. So the small SMEs and small companies have barriers, including language issues and low levels of digital fluency. So with the help of already existing digital platforms and solutions, you can make your business smoother and life much easier. So yeah, my answer is that.
Thank you so much. Mr. Zamil, do you have any other insights into this question?
Yeah, I just to add a little. My keyword is actually the motivation. First is the motivation. You need to motivate them, to understand them, to let them understand that what are their weaknesses and what is their opportunity and what is their the threat. So this from there on, with that proper motivation, when you want to migrate them to a digital, to do digital tourism, to do collaboration, to come out with a byproduct, and things will be easier. The keyword is actually the government must do the groundwork, the motivation before you innovate. Go for an innovation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Zamil. Now I have another live question from the beautiful island of Bali. So Ms. Dede Udayana has actually commented that these are very interesting presentations. So this question is for both speakers. So what do you think about the presence of virtual tourism in the long term? Do you think it becomes either a threat or an opportunity for tourism sector? I think just now Mr. Zamil talked extensively about virtual tourism, so I would like to pass the question first to Mr. Zamil, followed by Mr. Gumbilik. Mr. Zamil, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joshua. Dede Udayana. Okay, this is my opinion. I'm foodie. I'm a foodie. So I look at this thing as a meal. Okay, we must first, if the virtual tourism is such, it's like a appetizer. If the appetizer is good, when people see that this is something I'm going to experience in that country, these are the things that there are so many things, so many experiential based tourism that I'm going to experience. But through virtual, the appetizer is very good, and they know that when they come for the main dish, is going to be better. The main dish, yeah. So the main dish is actually is a physical. Is when they're ready. Yes, I'm ready to come in. I'm ready to come to your country. And the last part, the dessert or whatsoever. The dessert is something that I want to make sure that you are satisfied. I'll make sure that you're satisfied with all these three items. So I think to answer your question, is this actually an opportunity that everybody has to grab, and it's not a threat to the travel agent or what, because this is an added value. This is an asset. This is where they can get new experience. This is where they can get 1,000 new experience for Malaysia, and they can start selling. Even the hotels, they can do content. Everybody can do content. How to choose the right hotel, how to choose the right rooms for your customer, for your family. So that is my answer, Joshua, to Dede Udayana. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zamil. I really appreciate the insights from both experts, one from Southeast Asia, Malaysia, and one from East Asia, Mongolia. I have another question from the sunny islands of the Philippines. So good day, Jet here from the Philippines. Can you share the best practices that your countries have adopted in terms of measures and safety protocols in ensuring the safe and pleasurable tourism in the new normal? Very interesting questions from the Philippines. And may I get Mr. Gumbilik to start off first before we move over to Mr. Zamil?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question, Jetilo Sabio. So, to be honest, that I live in Singapore. I'm from Mongolia, but I live in Singapore at the moment. So I've been in lockdown in Singapore, and I couldn't had a chance to go back to my country, travel back to my country this year. So I don't know the real situation over there, but the Mongolia is one of the first countries actually has closed its borders, because we are the neighboring country of China. And in March, right after the COVID spread throughout the world, Mongolia is one of the first countries to shut down the border, and it has maintained so far. And it is actually what I said in my slides before, that we only have 350 cases, all imported, and no local transmission, and 0 deaths. So that is a quite tremendous work our government is doing back there. But in Singapore, they, also the same. The COVID-19 safety measures in Singapore is like way on top. So they have this safety entry system that works in every shops and airports and every places, tourist attractions. So both countries are doing really good job at the moment. So yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't share my country's perspective on this. Yeah, so thank you, Joshua.
Thank you so much. Talking about being situated in Singapore, we now have another question from Singapore, and it comes from Mr. Thomas Chia. Can you advise how can small tourism-oriented countries survive this COVID-19 pandemic? Because we know that Mongolia is a big country. There is tourism involved, but what about small tourism-oriented countries? How can they survive this COVID-19 pandemic? I think I will pass over the time over to Mr. Zamil, because I apologize that I didn't pass over the time to Mr. Zamil first. My apologies. So would you like to answer Thomas' question first? Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Joshua. Okay, this is what I think from my personal opinion. You need to actually move on. You need to migrate from what you are doing. If you are a travel agent, you need to actually collaborate You need to collaborate with all the local hosts or the player to create a new content. How to create a new content, and you must work together. If you can't sell the experience, you can sell the product. You can sell the, for example, if your country is rich in what they call natural resources, you can actually create a content about nature herbs, for example. You can use this product to actually to survive, to go into a business tourism, you know, to create a content, something like a workshop, a classes about herbs or everything. So you must find your unique selling proposition. You need to find your unique selling proposition. That is what I say, to identify your unique selling proposition before you migrate and do the other another stream of income. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we have another question. Right now is from Japan. I'm happy to show a question from Japan, and this is from Dr. Sahida Akhtar. So I'm Dr. Sahida Akhtar from Japan. My question to both experts: how could new normal tourism be effective in Malaysia? How is new normal tourism effective in Malaysia? So I think this question is suitably directed over to Mr. Zamil. Mr. Zamil, would you like to share your insights?
Okay, all right. I must say that I'm very happy with what our progressing. The government is very supportive. The ministry, the Malaysia to Productivity Corporation, they always have the initiative to move forward the industry. So there are many ways of actually to come up with a new tourism, new normal tourism practice. You know, we have you know, apart from the special standard operating procedure during the COVID-19 that is under control, we have more support from the players, from this one to actually to focus on a smaller market. I mean, local domestic market. And this is where you'll find that those big spenders are actually from the locals. They've been spending all their money to outbound. They're spending all the money out of Malaysia, and all this all this while after the COVID, we realized that all these big spenders actually come and visit Malaysia, come and actually explore the beautiful of Malaysia, and they spend a lot of money, and they are big spender. They are actually bringing back the money into the system. They're bringing back the cash into our domestic market, and that is my answer is, yeah, we are doing well with this new normal tourism. Thank you very much, Dr. Saida Akhtar from Japan.
Thank you so much. Mr. Gumbili, I was just wondering, with your experience in Mongolia, do you have any insights on whether post-COVID-19, the Mongolian travel and tourism industry, is it coping well? So maybe you can also share with us over at the side of Mongolia, in your professional capacity.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for the question. So, in my opinion, Mongolia tourism, they are coping really well. So, as I mentioned in my slides earlier, that, you know, the domestic travelers became the new normal in Mongolia. So actually, it has doubled compared to last year, and, you know, more than 800,000 people were traveled domestically this year. So if you compare to last year's statistics, the international travelers were only about just over than 500,000. So you can see the gap, right? So it has been a really effective year for, especially not for the tour operator companies, but for the hospitality industry. It has been a really good year for them. Some of our clients and some of our friends told me over the call. So yeah, that would be my.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gumbili. I have another question from a viewer who has sent an SMS to us. So COVID-19 made the world aware of the potential invisible risks associated with physical touch points. So as we all know, right now, the new normal for tourism apparently has shifted from seamless into contactless. So in other words, it's a hands-free experience. And this goal of a hands-free experience has become paramount. So my question, the viewer's question to both experts is, how can new tourism cope with this? So may I pass over the time to Mr. Zamil, followed by Mr. Gumbilik.
All right. Thank you, Joshua. This they call it hands-free experience is something what we are doing now is actually virtual experience, or you can call it live online experience, and this is actually vital now during this pandemic, during this lockdown. That what we need now is actually a hero, what do you call this? An online hero. So your country, our country, we need to bring up all these hero, this online hero that can actually express well than to do the physical this one. They can actually come out with a emotion, a dramatic story, a suspenseful expression during this kind of experience. So that the consumer, the tourists really enjoy that kind of that kind of this experience lah. And the risk that actually associated with physical touch point, yes, actually this is something unavoidable. But in Malaysia, we are actually happy that those other things is actually under control, under monitoring and well control. I think that's my sharing. Joshua, I hope I answered the question.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Gumbilik?
So yeah, it's a good question. So during the COVID-19, we have experienced very interesting virtual tours around the world. So especially from Europe, the old cities and the museums, and from the America, New York City, they all showed their museums virtually. So it was a virtual tour, actually, and also the virtual tourism and the traveling is among us. So for a couple of years now. So for example, if you see Google Earth or if you see Google Maps, it's a virtual tour itself. You just go in and log into your account, and then you can just Google your favorite places all around the world, and you can just travel around it. So I also agree with Mr. Zamil on this, that every country needs to promote and market their tourism sector in a digital way. So for example, as I mentioned earlier, that in Mongolia, they're doing a tremendous job over the YouTube, that a lot of people would really like to come to Mongolia and experience the food and the culture and the ethnicity and the uniqueness of our culture. So it has been really helping well. And also with the hands-free experience. So as I mentioned before, I live in Singapore. I will just repeat the Singapore example again, that the safe entry system, which reflects past travel history and contact with infected people, is being very useful and very effective until now. And everyone must show safe entry check-ins and check-outs before entering shops, hotels, and attractions. So it has already become the new normal, and I think most of the countries are doing the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gumbilik, as well as Mr. Zamil, for your very insightful observations. I have another question that is regarding the economic perspective of this COVID-19 impact on the tourism industry. COVID-19 pandemic is projected to lead to an overall negative 4.9% decline in global GDP in 2020, and that's according to the latest projections by the International Monetary Fund. So how can productivity, and by logic, how can productivity and innovation in the tourism sector arrest this decline? Would you like to share some of your insights to this question? Mr. Gumbilik?
Okay, thank you. So the COVID-19 pandemic is one of the greatest challenges in the modern travel industry. So we have ever faced. So it is uniquely pushing global tourism because it works against the industry on two points. So on the purely economic side, the recession it caused would have brought slowdown in travel activity. But COVID-19 combines this business downturn with health and safety precautions, including lockdowns, airline capacity reductions, physical distancing, and more, that direct restrict to people's ability to travel. So under these like never before experienced conditions, it's difficult to forecast a timeline for recovery. So but this industry reboot is a great opportunity for travel companies and destinations to work productively together and set up strategies to build a more sustainable tourism, such as building the future of travel together for sustainable tourism industry. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Zamil, would you like to also pitch in on this?
I just add a little. To me, productivity is actually today is better than yesterday, and tomorrow is better than today. But you can't just enhance this productivity in just one sector, and not just in tourism. We need to collaborate. We need to make sure that all other sectors is actually on a productive mode. That they need to back up. You need to instill productivity in all the sector. Then only you can see the decline in the global GDP or in Malaysia. If you're actually focusing on just one area of tourism, you're going to have the imbalance of imbalance on this one, because you need to move the economy as a whole. But yes, I agree. Tourism, we are doing the best that we can, thanks to our government with all the incentive. But as I said, this is a joint effort, not just with Malaysia. We need to work together with all the neighboring countries. We need to work with all the participants in APO. How we can actually help each other. How we can actually sell our content online. How you can experience Malaysia online. How I can experience Mongolia online. So this is actually a combined effort. Thank you. Sure.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zamil. Because of time interest, I would like to now wrap up our APO productivity talk, and we have really come to our end of the APO productivity talk. So thank you, Zamil and Mr. Gumbelik, Mr. Zamil and Mr. Gumbelik, for taking questions live from the floor. So it has been a fruitful discussion, but I want to give each of you some airtime to answer a question that is actually quite pertinent to our discussion today. So perhaps in your concluding remarks, would you be able to share some of your foresight into the future of tourism in this COVID-19 new normal? Because we know that even if Pfizer and BioNTech and Moderna and Novavax or AstraZeneca at the University of Oxford, even if they come out with the vaccines that's extremely effective and is distributed, you still have to take into consideration the questions of logistics, the question of costs, and the question of the efficacy across the different geographical locations. So before then, I would say that the COVID-19 will still cast a huge pale over economic sectors like the tourism industry. So what is your foresight into the future of tourism? So I will pass the time over to Mr. Gumbelik first, and then I will get Mr. Zamil to wrap up the entire APO productivity talk. Mr. Gumbelik, your foresight into the future of tourism.
Thank you very much. So I would say, okay, it's Zamil now. Okay, thank you. So my foresight of the future of the tourism, I would say customer experience. So many travel companies have begun to embrace agile principles in IT and digital literature. So these principles are becoming a useful tool to across the entire enterprises as we go into the next normal. So the companies that thrive after this crisis will likely to be those that work with travelers and employees to co-create distinctive solutions in a rapid and agile manner that find new ways to enable choice across the customer experience, and that communicate progress in an authentic and transparent way. So no one can tell us what the future of travel will be, and we will not find the right solutions to today's fluid situations overnight. So this will take time, this will take more time and patience and probably many attempts to learn together, but travel companies need to embrace the challenge to come back together, and it will be mostly based on the user experience and user data online. Thank you.
Okay, Joshua. To me, tourism is not exclusive for a certain group. Tourism is actually for all. whatever you do, if you're a good cook or what you do martial arts, everything, there's actually a category for you in tourism. There's always a room for you in tourism. You need to go digital. You need to go digital. Do not afraid to try to embrace something new. This is a new stream of income for all of the players. You know, um, what I see in future is that most of the experience, most of the packages that you see in Malaysia will be convert into digital online, so that we can go further. We can go further, not just Malaysia. We can go global with what we have. And another the thing that I always put in mind is that you must always think tourism, and you have to act tourism. That's all, Joshua. Thank you.
Thank you so much. In fact, I have already written down your very good advice. So do not be afraid to do something new in this COVID-19 pandemic, because with crisis, there's always new opportunities coming up. And the second point you brought up is to think and act tourism, especially for tourism experts like Mr. Gumbalik and Mr. Muzamil. I wish you all the best in this post-COVID-19 pandemic. So we have come to the end of the productivity talk, and as we all know, the International Air Transport Association predicts that global passenger traffic will not return to pre-COVID-19 levels until 2024. So hospitality industry room occupancy will also not return to normal until at least 2023 or even later. So we know that the economies will be very, very affected, and this will cause both subtle and substantive shifts in the hospitality industry moving forward. And therefore, today's APO Productivity Talk comes at an extremely opportune time to share with member countries how can we pick up the pieces and to move on from one of the greatest black swan events that has hit the tourism sector in recent history. So my sincere thanks, for Mr. Gumbalik and Mr. Zamil for sharing your insights. Thank you so much, Mr. Gumbalik and Mr. Zamil.
Thank you very much.
So
Thank you.
the APO will continue to host. Yeah, thank you so much. The APO will host more productivity talks featuring experts in government, industry, and academic levels like Mr. Zamil and Mr. Gumbalik. So please stay tuned to our series of APO Productivity Talks and continue to click like, subscribe our APO channels. And today, we are very lucky that we have a coterie of followers and fans of Mr. Zamil who has watched live and who has posed a lot of questions for us. So I think majority are the fans of Mr. Zamil. Thank you so much, Mr. Zamil. And the rest are Mr. Gumbalik. And I have one friend who watched me, and I really appreciate it. So continue to stay tuned and continue to take care of your very good self as well as your loved ones. And until I see you again, this is Joshua Lau from the Asian Productivity Organization, wishing everyone, ladies and gentlemen, a very nice day ahead. So goodbye, Mr. Gumbalik. Goodbye, Mr. Zamil.
Bye.
Continue to stay in touch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yowa konsaka itadaki arigatou gozaimasu.
Domo arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you so much. Arigatou gozaimashita.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, TPN.